Hello, my name is Karishot. I'm a multi-season top 500 player, and today I want to cover Horizon Lunar Colony and the Orisa comps that are emerging in the Overwatch League. These Orisa comps can be countered with ease if you know how to play around it and understand which picks are picked with it. Let's talk about the different variations you will see and the two methods that I think counter it. The first method we will talk about are the quad tank setups, which we saw the Dallas Fuel and the LA Gladiators run and then analyze when and why they worked. I like the Dallas Fuel's first push more than the LA Gladiators' first push because of how it delays an initial flank route for a possible tracer up top, as you might have seen Bunny abuse on the first push in the LA Gladiators match. So for those of you who did not see the LA Gladiators match, what happened was the LA Gladiators went from the right side and they tried to line of sight the Widow this way by going under the platform, but Bunny was up top here and he just set up a crossfire and was free to go to point from the left side and go ahead and flank and pressure that way. That way he gets a pretty quick pulse bomb as well, but in this way, what the Dallas Fuel are able to do is they're able to delay the flank route, like I said, a little bit quicker, and they're also able to speed to point for free and are not able to be caught in rotation to point because of the shield they have and how they line of sight Widow this way. Dependent on what they are running, you play the fights differently. For example, here they have a Widow and they notice that she did not rotate main as we saw Fleta do versus the Gladiators. What Fleta did in the Gladiators match was he was initially up here and he rotated main. This way he had a line of sight to the back line. Now, this might be good for the Widow, but versus a quad tank setup, if the quad tank plays it properly by staying on point, they are still able to human shield body block the Widow shots and are able to control point that way. So the backline is still relatively safe. They get to use that pillar on point. It's still an okay scenario. However, in the worst case scenario, which was for the Valiant here, is they don't have enough damage to go ahead and brute force these tanks off point and try to kill them that way. So Soon did not rotate, which allows the Dallas Fuel to brute force them off point and just roll them. Gusta will also build a relatively quick ult with this comp, since Moira has a lot of tanks to heal, and having the highest rate of healing in the game, Moira can build ult within 30 to 40 seconds with ease. Let's go ahead and play out this fight to see how the Dallas Fuel just brute force them and go ahead and win this point. They're just controlling point here. They turn on Tracer. The LA Valiant are not even able to go ahead and get on point without dying. It's just a relatively quick take. Now let's take a look at another method of playing versus these Orisa comps. One of the standard Orisa setups we see is where Orisa stands up top near the control room with her team. I just want to note that it does matter that if you are in fact going to still run this Orisa comp after watching the video, that it does matter where on this platform you hold. Some teams opt over here, but if you do need to respond to point pressure, it's best that you go ahead and go together here. That way you don't get split as we saw in the Florida Mayhem game. And also you will see a resurgence, trust me, of Sombra, Lucio Moira. I think this will be the god comp right now in terms of meta and where the meta is going to shift. So you will go ahead and see this comp, and you can't really send D.Va alone to deal with that pressure, as we will talk about here in a second. So moving right along, the setup is exceedingly hard to dive, because it can put your healers in the most vulnerable spots. The only team that had success diving the Orisa comp the entire preseason and the entire season so far was the Boston Uprising, and that was solely due to the mispositioning of Libero and Sabiolbi when going after Dream Casper and isolating themselves from their healers. It's far better to avoid the Orisa comp and make them react to you and catch them off in rotation by sending your flankers / Sombra, as we're about to talk about. Ideally, you want your Sombra to hack the bottom health pack, as we saw earlier, and send Tracer with Sombra to sandwich whoever they send to deal with you. Just a little side note, again, I don't really agree with the Houston Outlaws running this Pharah comp. They tried this in the preseason as well, and it didn't work out then either. We already know that Widow's picked like 90% of the times in this map, and I think that even though they try to send Muma to go ahead and pressure him, it's really hard to run this. I understand Jake almost got a kill here, but like I said, I really think Lucio Moira, Sombra to go ahead speed to point, take control of point first. That way you have a better rotation than the other team, and they really have to react to your pressure is much better, okay? But we're going to go ahead and play this and talk about the proper way, in my opinion, to go ahead and sandwich on point. So we saw the Florida Mayhem do this versus the Dallas Fuel. However, they had little to no success. And in my opinion, they had the right idea, but they executed it poorly. So what they had is they had Tracer where Bonnie is right now, hiding there. And they had Sombra where Raucus is right now. So basically, imagine the Mercy being a Tracer right now. Now, in my opinion, this should be flipped. They should have the Sombra behind and then Poco or the Diva. Usually you want to think of every hero as a resource, by the way. They were going to go ahead and send this Diva here because he can just go ahead and deal with the pressure rather safely if it was just one person. And then going ahead and getting healed from the upper part so he doesn't lose mech. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen here. But most of the time, that's the play. That's why people usually want to send the Diva. He can go ahead and reposition with his team once the threat is being dealt with. That's why usually solo pressure is not all the time working now, because people really adapted to it and know how to work around it, okay? But moving right along to what Florida did versus the Dallas Fuel is they went ahead and they sandwiched, and like I said, I think Sombra should be actually the one here and Tracer should be here. So if they flip spots, I think it's better because then you have the potential for a hack since you will go ahead and face this way. And not only that, that Tracer actually has higher DPS even with the reloads. So that way, she has to turn 100%, otherwise she's going to get hacked. And if she gets hacked, she can't fly back to her team. She can't defense matrix. She's going to lose mech, right? So she has to deal with the hack, the potential hack. So if he doesn't react quick enough, obviously he gets hacked. He's going to lose mech. But if he does react fast enough, you get higher DPS value anyway, and he has to fly out, and you get more pressure that way. And then if they react poorly and they don't rotate correctly, they can get caught off in rotation. Again, how we saw happen to the Florida Mayhem and the Dallas Fuel game as well, okay, since they sent the wrong resource and they got caught off in rotation. But again, I really think that a Tracer sandwiching with Sombra is really good, and I feel like that's where the meta is headed, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at the amount of impact that Raucus had on the Sombra. I would say 1v6, as you can see him get the mech there, but Bonnie obviously pocketing him, diving in the back line with him. Pretty interesting stuff. But really, look at the impact he had. Muma couldn't really get much done. Jake obviously just switched. He died on Farah. Linkser died. His entire team died. And basically, they're just playing around EMP. Raucus goes ahead and just clears out the team. Playing for EMP on this really counters his composition hard. I don't think Orisa comps should be played much anymore. The next thing I want to look at, and the final thing I want to look at, is the San Francisco Shock versus the Shanghai Dragons in the Shanghai Dragons' only win, which was on this map in the season so far. So let's take a look at the Shanghai Dragons versus the San Francisco Shock game, and look at Shanghai Dragons' attack with the Lucio Moira Sombra, and see how San Francisco Shock reacted to the pressure. So right off the bat, we see the Shanghai Dragons waiting as a team to go ahead and see the Sombra hacking the Mega Pack, and then waiting for him to pressure point. As we can see then, San Francisco actually is a bit unprepared in the sense that they don't know what to send. I mean, this is kind of the downfall of not having a Diva, right? You can't really send Hog to deal with this. You basically, if he goes, you don't really have anything to go ahead and support your main tank other than Junkrat, I guess, with his mine. But even then, they do send Junkrat to deal with this pressure, which is just as bad. And just by doing this, you can even the playfield and get them off high ground this way. Now, as you can see in the spectator mode, you see Zen up top, right? The entire team's quite split here. But let's go ahead and play out the VOD. We see Dante going ahead and dropping. We see Sleepy actually down here as well. I mean, that's maybe three or four members are just jumping off high ground. And then we see the entire team jump off high ground and go ahead and try to deal with this Sombra. Now, even if Nevix did hit the hook here, we have to realize that just by doing this, and if and when Undead does get his EMP and they're forced to fight point, they lose anyway since they have to consolidate on point together, and they will get hit by that EMP. It's really hard to play around, right? So I really think this is the God comp, and I'm going to call it that, because it's just, in my opinion, where the meta is going to shift. Now, as you see here, since Sombra did pressure them pretty hard there, and they are split all over the place since San Francisco isn't reacting well enough, they do get picked off and they end up losing the game, the point, and yeah. But lastly, I do want to go ahead and look at the San Francisco Shock's push. Overall, in this game, I mean, there's not much to talk about it in terms of San Francisco's attack, since it was pretty much a trickle fest and a huge disconnect in communication, in my opinion, as you can see in the multiple different paths each player took and not applying pressure at the same time in which Dante was pressuring point. Now, pretty much compare and contrast here. I know Shanghai Dragons might not be the best team, but you could see them just waiting completely for the Sombra to go ahead and pressure point before even peaking, right? And I mean, in this game, we saw multiple times, just multiple people getting picked off. It was just very unlike San Francisco Shock, because I gotta say I have faith in my boys Nomi Duck. I mean, they're not a bad team. It was just, I think they were a bit autopilot this map. I definitely think they're a great group of guys. But as you can see, like, Nevix is up here by himself, Winston's down there, Zen and Mercy are stuck in the room. Like, it's a very, very split push, you know. Don't want to get any league terms here. I mean, that's not a split push in this game isn't really a good thing, right? But it's a very, very split push here. Nevix gets demeched for around the third time already. It's really, really hard to go ahead and attack. Like I said, dive the stop part. You'll also see Nomi jump up here in a bit too, and just insta die. I really think, again, they should have just played around Dante and apply pressure when he applied pressure, as we can see him doing now. It was just a very huge disconnect in terms of communication. Now Dante, you know, is all obviously on point. Baby is joining him, and as you can see, people are all over the place and is dying. So I think San Francisco Shock needs to talk about who to send in reaction to that. They can't really get away with not running Diva on this map. I do think it's essential for dealing with that pressure on point if they do want to run this Orisa comp. But overall, I think, again, the meta will shift towards that Lucio, Moira, Sombra, and I think this is what the next week will be. I think teams really need to focus around playing around that and try to see where the meta they can evolve from there, okay? That's it for me. Thank you so much for watching this analysis video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know which teams you would like to see, which map you would like to see next. You can follow me at my social medias at CurryShotTV. This is Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You decide, alright? I hope to see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait for the Overwatch League Week 2 to kick off on Wednesday. Hope to see you guys there.